What's up, fam? Welcome to Off the Reservation, a show that's like my seasonal depression, chronic. Speaking of chronic, I'm your number one wizard, Mal.
I'm Mal.
And I'm the son of Picasso.
And speaking of chronic, I believe this episode is going to be a super episode.
Super episode.
Super duper.
Yeah, guys,
Super
this is
special.
our third episode. We're excited here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we've got an interesting topic today.
Yeah.
So recently here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, they have recently legalized a recreational marijuana use. The cannabis.
Can we get the applause?
Wait, no. That's the wrong one.
that's the-
Wrong one. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Applause. All right. No. This is kind of an interesting topic because, I don't know a lot about this industry.
I don't either.
but it's already creating a lot of
it's
revenue.
a big stir.
Yeah. No, it's bringing in a lot of money here. And so
Yeah.
I mean,
it's good fun. I mean, in my youth, I had partaken in the devil's lettuce, and during that time, it was, still outlawed. So, I may be a fugitive, but
Sticking it to the man.
yeah, we all have our youthful, rebellious ages, and it's gonna be interesting because we are the group that for like we all saw the internet come into play, and now we finally have seen a time where weed is going to be legalized.
Like that's nuts if you really think about
Yeah.
like that we've made it through prohibition and like we're seeing it come to an end, you
Yeah.
know. I think it's a beautiful thing, I think that it's going to create a lot of opportunity for, Native Americans, especially with all that land that we have that's been so hard to develop. So, I think that there's a lot of openings for that, but
I mean, I know, like, for personally myself, once they were like announced that it was legalized and everything, like I was still like, man, I don't like I still can't wrap my mind around it. I'm still in the days when
yeah,
it's
it's
like,
kind of
if you do
interesting, right? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
have either of you two been to a dispensary since they legalized it?
No, I've been sober and I'm trying
So
to stay
it's
sober.
crazy, right? So like I went in, right? And like this is the first time I ever got a receipt for buying weed, which was just crazy. Like they like
Did you
like,
have
do you
to
want
show
a
it
receipt?
at the door like Walmart?
No, like it was cool. Like the whole experience was really cool, but like, it was just crazy to live in an age where they give you a receipt. And they're like,
You're
okay.
like,
And then like you look at it and they have a recreational tax and then they have a state tax on it, but it's just like, wow, this is too cool. And then, it's kind of like, on Pineapple Express, we're like, have you ever bought weed from a drug dealer? Like, it's just awkward
It's
and
uncomfortable.
weird. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
they're your friend, but they're not really your friend. That is very true in that industry because it makes it black market. And then
Yeah.
you start to deal
It
with
feels-
others.
yeah, it
And
feels-
then you start to deal with people who do other things on the black market. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
And like, it's like, there's no reason why these two people should even meet.
Right.
Which
right.
at one point, I mean, I did try to, like, back in the day when it was illegal, I tried to pick up, and I was like, I still had that paranoia of like, am I gonna get something laced with something? We all saw Friday, and I didn't want to be, was it Chris Tucker running down the street getting naked? Like I was
Hanging out in your mama's chicken coop.
yeah, like I was afraid that I might end up with something. So then, it starts this whole process of you having to like go and be like, hey, somebody, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, I know somebody who knows a guy who knows a guy, and it's good. You have to like, you had to vet your dealer, man. You couldn't just go out there and just be like, hey man,
Yeah, there's got to be that benefit now of not having to feel
Oh yeah,
scared,
because
right?
everything's regulated now.
Yeah,
Everything is like
yeah.
Regulators gotta
tested,
regulate.
like
Yeah.
scientific. It's all scientific, man.
Yeah, it's science. It's science. Yeah, well, I mean, today we've got coming up soon. We've got a guest who's actually in the industry, and we're going to be asking him the hard-hitting questions. Now, we're going to be asking him all the questions about the industry and what the future might look like for those in the industry as well as native peoples. Because like you mentioned, like there's a lot of I think there's a lot of opportunity in a lot of industries, but I guess particularly this, it requires, something that requires,
Agriculture.
Well, it's-
You know, and you
it's-
look at a lot of, what native people have to export, right? And like it's like fossil fuels, you know what I mean? It's things like that
Yeah.
tear apart the land
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
things that, heal people, so to say.
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, and it also seems like it's like virgin territory. Like nobody's, this was, if you were going to engage in like growing and dispensing, you were working below the radar. You were working, and now like, I mean, in Albuquerque alone, you can drive down the road and see like 4 different dispensary shops, like all on the same road. It's pretty wild. It's good times for everyone except for me because sober.
Well, you don't have to say it like that.
I don't know. I mean,
if you say it like that, then there's a problem.
yeah, and I guess that's the thing is like in my brain, I'm still like in that like
Like,
50s
do you
era.
think
Like,
that like employers will like catch up to the new laws in New Mexico? Like, do you think they'll stop
I
testing
think,
for it and making it like a requirement?
I think that they're walking a line right now. And
Yeah.
I think they're trying to suss out which way they need to go with it.
Yeah.
I mean, for my personal experience, I believe that there's a precedent that has to be taken because one, just like alcohol, you don't want anybody working,
Yeah, while intoxicated.
while
Yeah.
intoxicated, while at the same time, there's certain jobs that sometimes you can do better when you're stoned, like.
Like be on a podcast.
All right. Well, hey, we've got our guest coming up soon, and we will go ahead and we'll ask those questions because I have a feeling he's going to have some answers. And
We got questions. He's got answers.
so, yeah, let's
Stick
go
around.
All right. We'll be right back.
This is breaking news with Brad Bearclaw. On today's West Duty Sightings, we have another caller. And who might you be?
Hey, Shiaj, how come you haven't called me this week?
Not now, Mother. I'm at work.
Well, I have a West Duty sighting. I saw him at one of them art shows in Santa Fe. He's real handsome. I was making eyes at him, but got nothing. He's got these real tight jeans. And
Well,
real
there you
nice
have it, folks.
turquoise
West
stuff.
Duty could have been my daddy. This has been Brad Bearclaw on another West Duty sighting. Now back to you guys. All right, and we're back in action. From those wonderful mid-show announcements.
Yeah, I think
advertisements.
we're probably gonna have had a visit from Brad Bearclaw, right?
Yeah, I think this was Brad Bearclaw,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he is quite the handsome fellow, if I must say.
Yeah, that West Duty, he's busy getting
He's going places, dude.
he's getting spotted out there.
Yeah, and remember, if you catch him out there in the wild, you better release him. We need him to do important things.
Well, hey, let's introduce our good friend. This is a longtime friend of the family.
Yeah.
I think we all grew up basically together.
Yeah.
We've known him since church days.
Since the church days, yeah. And he is also he's my brother-in-law, so we got that connection there too. Yeah. That's a little applause there. Okay, woo. Yes. Introducing Bernie. Bernie, say hello.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Bernie.
Yeah. So, kind of what you guys mentioned. Been in Albuquerque, grew up out here, so off the reservation also too.
Yeah.
We have the church background together. Kind of what I mentioned in the last segment, I spent the last few years in cannabis industry, particularly working at a medical dispensary for the last few years, and then recently working in wholesale, selling accessories and stuff to dispensaries, and also some smoke shops too. So still in the business, just a little different angle from it now. It's been good for me. Like I said, in the last few years been able to start a career out of it. So
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's also just taken off, recently even more so, right? I mean, I think the whole state went into a frenzy when they found out they were going to be legalizing it last year, right? I think it passed last year, and then it actually kicked in.
Exactly, yeah. So they had passed the law, and then the recreational sale started on April 1st, and then obviously 420 being the day that it is, April was just a huge month for the state, and they picked a really good time actually, to start off on the right foot, economically.
Yeah.
And I think I saw they made over like 2.4 million sales or something. Yeah.
In that first month or the first week?
I think it was just the first month, I think.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
so they can fix our roads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'll be able to fix the roads, pay some teachers. It'll be good
the
that way.
important stuff, yeah.
Exactly.
It's like, wow, do we really value teachers that much?
I mean, we should.
I mean, I do. I do.
Some of them. No, I'm just kidding.
No, pay the teachers.
Children are the future. You got to teach them. All right. So we were talking earlier a little bit about a few of the questions we had regarding the industry. And you mentioned you've worked in the industry. How many years now? About?
I think now it'd be close to 4 total.
Nice.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I say I had my medical cannabis card for close to 11 years now.
Oh, okay.
In the state of New Mexico. I think we started in 2008, 7 or 8, something like that, and I got my card back in 2010.
Nice.
Late 2010. So
nice.
Yeah.
What do you think has been like the biggest changes that you've seen since it became legalized?
Definitely
on your side.
Definitely the Son of Picasso touched on it. Testing, labeling, specific products tailored to specific needs, and a large part of it is just a larger understanding as a whole of it as an industry of what works for certain ailments, and also a lot of acceptance. Really, obviously, mentioning, having grown up in a church environment and conservative schools, and particularly with our older population, with the natives, there's a lot of stigma around it.
Yeah.
And seeing, like I said, a lot of willingness to try things and to kind of have an open mind. I've seen a big change in that. And so that's been a big positive because ultimately I think, acceptance of it will go a long way. Maybe it's not for everybody, but I think, understanding and having, the New Mexico cannabis thing is Lynn and Eric, Compassionate Use Act. And I think a lot of that comes down to, understanding compassion, having compassion for folks and, what ailments they may have and, what helps benefit them, I think. Has been a big part that I've seen change, particularly in the few years I've been working.
Nice.
Wow. It's interesting that you bring up the fact of the older generation sometimes looks down upon it or has like a stigma about it. And like you look back and you're like, holy crap, though, like you were the generation that forged it. You guys were alive in the 60s. You guys like are in essence running the country now. Like with your values came down to us, trickled down to us, like, and it's kind of like they forgot who they were. At least that's how I view it,
Yeah, it was interesting to see the almost the reaction, right, to that movement, which we would have saw in the 80s with a lot of the stricter laws and not just cannabis but other substances too.
Oh yeah, we were all Reagan babies, like the war against drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I think maybe in some ways now we're actually seeing kind of the shift back, towards that. And I think ultimately a lot of it, we're talking about an industry, the economics, money talks at a point. And I think a lot of these states that took the jump early, like say Colorado, California, and the Northwestern states, Pacific Northwest states, Oregon and Washington, having seen those models be successful, really allowed some of these other states to kind of say like, okay, the worst case scenario didn't happen. And in a lot of cases, we were joking in some ways, but, particularly paying, public servants and being able to fix the roads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's somewhat easy money where instead of prosecuting folks, you can make the tax money off of it. And So yeah, I think that's been somewhat of the shift back, towards what you were mentioning with the prior generations.
Yeah, I know. I know a couple people, older people that like I wouldn't expect. It's like you said, growing up with like the in the culture we grew up in, like you wouldn't expect them to be as accepting as they were of it, but they're almost just kind of like, we thought this was going to happen a long time ago, And I was kind of surprised, like, oh, okay, the way they talk about it. So that's definitely interesting. Cool. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the show. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe. And remember to share the show, because sharing is caring. Now back to the show.
All right, guys, welcome back to Off the Reservation. We are here with our special guest, Bernie.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
So just a little bit before, we were talking about cannabis being legalized here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and you worked in the industry for, did you say, sorry?
About 4 years now, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've been able to see that change from, when it was strictly medicinal to now recreational, and we're telling us a little bit about that. We've spoken before, and I've actually talked about, what this could possibly mean for the native peoples of America here, with so many states now starting to legalize. And I know you've been working. If you want to tell us a little bit about your work in that area.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity out there for tribes to get involved, and particularly in the western states right now, where recreational cannabis is legal. States and tribes have been able to make partnerships with each other, and tribes are in some cases able to run their whole operations on their tribal land, which is a huge step forward, and I think gives a model in a lot of cases for other tribes going forward on what's possible. And like I said, in some cases, I think it's just a start, and I think the availability of products that cannabis can reach demographically will range anywhere from young to old, even if they're not necessarily smoking it but using it topically for pain. There's different mixtures between CBD and THC that are non-psychoactive that offer relief. So I think what we'll find is that we'll be able to offer help in a lot of ways to a wide range of people.
Yeah. And for specifically with the native groups, like you said, it's an opportunity, because I know we spoke with when we spoke with Dave last season.
Yeah.
He was kind of telling us a little bit, kind of like how casinos are, in the sense that like there's a lot of people who may have a moral stance against casinos, but it's hard to deny that casinos are a help economically for our people, and it's an opportunity, and it's almost like an opportunity, like, well, it's available, we should be using it to better our communities. And I feel like that's something that a stance that Native peoples could definitely take, in this sense of
Well, I remember him talking about how Native Americans creating their own industry to be able to, sell their vegetables on their own land, and then therefore the money that they spend goes back into the tribe and stays within their community, while also being able to bring in other sources outside. But I guess what would that look like for the Native American communities, and is that a conversation that they're having?
I think so. In some cases, they're able to produce what they would call seed to sale results. Literally starting from a seed, growing it to a plant, getting it to a position to sell it over the counter. And ultimately, that's kind of what you'd be mentioning, a whole system. And in order to do that, it creates jobs because you need to have people running the grow, you need to have people running the retail facility, you need to have people running the financing. So there's a whole lot of opportunity within, a organization kind of, structured like that.
Yeah.
And, Sana Picasso touched on it, I think in the first section about, Native Americans having a lot of land available, having a lot of resources available.
Yeah.
And I think what we'll find, maybe not necessarily in, 5 years, but in 10 to 20, as solar and wind power get to be, more efficient, we're going to be able to find, other ways to get power, for a very efficient cost, to a lot of areas that previously wouldn't have access to that. And I think that'll be, a huge step, forward as well too.
Because I could almost see that like coinciding with like the ability for the reservations to begin to gain those industries as well, grow those, the water development, the houses being able to have their own running water. And
almost
houses.
like a self-sustaining community.
Yeah.
You, with your energy, and then you got your products coming out, and you're kind of constantly bringing. Yeah, it's like economical
growth. Yeah, you could I could honestly see like natives moving back to the reservation to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus people trying to get off.
trying to leave to have an opportunity.
Yeah.
You could go back because there are opportunities there. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think the land that's available out there, particularly in what we would consider kind of the outposts, are huge economic opportunities going forward. And I think it is exciting to see, what we can do with those.
Yeah. Well, I guess, on that subject, because we're always advocating to push our people forward, so, we wanted to take the chance to kind of pull back the veil on this, because there are, like we said, there's still people out there that are very unaware.
They do have a stigma about the industry,
and it's more than just what TV and depicts. You know what I mean? So
well, I guess the question I'd have is there any? Do you know of anyone that any way that anyone can help get the word out or make more pushes and movements towards getting this finalized or created in their reservations?
I would guess, at that point it would be, talking to their individual leaders, about it, and asking, I guess, to start with if they have any plans or if they've thought about it, and kind of going from there. Because in a lot of cases, we mentioned gaming, there's people that are already doing it and taking, some of the market, so to speak. And so, going back to even something like coal and natural resources, is if we can get in on our land early and do it our way, as opposed to having third parties come in and do it and run it, ultimately, like we were mentioning, we want to, the goal would be, self-sufficiency and creating, economic development that way. And this would just be one sector of it. I think it's a huge opportunity coming up, and, be one piece of the whole puzzle, so to speak, that could help.
So in essence, what you're saying is keep native money in native hands, right?
It would help, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, I think there's a lot of opportunity, and in the growth that I've seen the industry experience in just a short time that I've been involved in, it's going to be really interesting to see in the next 10, 15, 20 years what it looks like, going forward, because I still feel like in a lot of cases we're still in the infancy stages.
There's a lot of growing to do.
A lot of growing
in a lot of ways. And, once it hits federally legal, that's the main thing. And I would say, for, Native folks, if anything, is that, it's not a if, it's a when it's going to go federally legal.
Yep.
And, we can start to be prepared for that, and be really set up well for that. And so that's something that I would hope for, that people could take away, is that, it's going to happen. We just need to be ready for it, and, start having a committee to determine, where could we put stuff? How would we do stuff?
Yeah. Ask those questions.
Is it even feasible for us? Is it cost efficient for a certain tribe to get involved? Maybe not in every case it is, but I think it's something that could really be good for a lot of tribes going
benefit
forward.
the tribes. Yeah.
Well, people, you heard it here. Be prepared. It's coming. The green wave is coming, if you so to say. And thank you, Bernie, for being on our episode.
Yes,
thank you for
thank you.
coming
Yeah,
in
thank
and
you,
talking
guys.
about this.
Yeah, it's good to catch up with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Well, again, guys, you can check us out on YouTube for our videos. We also have our podcasts on Spotify, anywhere, Anchor, wherever
Apple
podcasts are available. And thanks, guys, for listening. And again, thanks, Bernie. That was an awesome talk. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.